Ladies and gentlemen, fellow epilepsy sufferers, and those who enjoy it too, and of course, our carers who attend out of duty, love, and because they get dragged along kicking and screaming. Is epilepsy a disability? Why is this even a question? Of course, epilepsy is a disability. It disables us, some more often than others. I'm going to take two ends of a spectrum. One person having a full-on tonic-clonic seizure, and a second person having a mild partial seizure, and compare the two, showing conclusively that there is absolutely no doubt that to have epilepsy is to have a disability. However, for those of you panicking in the audience that you're suddenly being placed in boxes that you hate the sound of, she's disabled, he's disabled, she or he can't do anything, relax. It's only epilepsy. Sure, epilepsy can accompany other conditions that can make life difficult, but epilepsy is a condition, a disease, that switches itself on and off. If only we had the power to control it ourselves, some of us do, I suppose, by taking our meds correctly, making the sensible life choices. You know the drill. Hopefully more of us will get that power, thanks to the research currently being carried out. Ideally, all of us will be able to control our own epilepsy eventually. The sooner the better, but for the moment, let's look at how it disables us from time to time. Okay, I want 5 volunteers. You, 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 and you. The rest of you can relax. In fact, you can all relax. I'm not going to ask you to come up here and do anything. Instead, I'm going to ask everyone to think about how they felt when I asked for volunteers. Many of you probably felt panicked in case I asked you. Of those who were picked, some of you, and I won't ask who, were possibly literally paralyzed with fright. I do mean literally paralyzed with fright. As soon as the 5 were chosen, the rest of you could relax. And now, even my volunteers can relax. I want you all to compare that experience of 1 second's paralytic fright to having a seizure. I mean a full-on tonic-clonic seizure, complete with jerking, incontinence, the after effects of headache and vomiting. We'll leave out any extra injury. A tonic-clonic on its own is enough. It paralyzes or disables your brain and body for much more longer than that little experiment. Some of you, not all of you thankfully, know the feeling of waking up after a tonic-clonic seizure. Head feeling like it's going to explode, tongue chewed to bits, the embarrassment of realizing you're uncomfortable because you've wet yourself. And that's just when you're alone, not to mind when there's an audience. Then of course there's the rest of it. The sleepiness, the vomiting, the confusion, and the time loss. The time loss during the seizure is just the start of it. Then comes the recovery time. That can take anything from minutes to hours to days. It depends on the person, it depends on the seizure. Whatever happens, it's not a comfortable time. During it, you're not yourself. Your body doesn't function quite the way it usually does. Tonic-clonics are exhausting and leave the body wrecked. I've heard it said that a tonic-clonic is the equivalent of running a marathon, and no sane person would do a marathon without preparation. Pity epilepsy strikes when it feels like it, not when we've prepared and sorted out schedules to suit us. Seizures steal time out of our lives, not just for the person having the seizure, but also for the caring people who give up their time to stay with us during seizures, sometimes when we don't even know them. I'm sure many of you have had random people on the street help you when you've been disabled by your epilepsy. These people can see that epilepsy is a disability, even if it's usually hidden from public view as we go about our daily lives. The thing is, a tonic-clonic seizure strikes, knocks us out of commission, disabling us for hours or even days, and people question that to have epilepsy is to have a disability. Now let's look at someone having a simple partial seizure. Even a partial seizure disables for a while. It can leave you confused, needing a bit of assistance, usually just for a few moments. But even that can be disconcerting. It's not a pleasant experience to come around from a seizure and not know where you are, what you're meant to be doing, or what just happened. It can be scary, emotionally disabling. It may not be as dramatic as a tonic-clonic, but partial seizures can have lasting effects on our lives too, especially if we allow them to take over. For some people with epilepsy who have frequent seizures, even minor ones, their social lives can suffer. It starts off slowly, not going out to an event because it's in a nightclub with flashing lights or will be a late night. It's not because of the flashing lights, of course. It's the inconvenient location or the cost of a taxi home. It starts like this and it spreads. Eventually they realize that they haven't been out with friends in ages. And they wonder why they're missing out on the gossip. Or what is it men do? Chat, news, sports talk, that kind of stuff. This kind of thing isn't as rare as you'd think. It can happen even the most outgoing of people after a diagnosis of epilepsy. Sometimes it's easier to cry off in the activities than take precautions, such as arranging early nights out and leaving before the tiredness sets in. Epilepsy can disable your social life completely if you let it. It's up to you not to, and luckily, you can. Epilepsy disables us in many different ways. It can do so physically, leaving us wrecked, emotionally, leaving us drained, and if we let it, socially. The good news is that there are so many ways we can reduce the power epilepsy has over us. We control our lives. Epilepsy is only a small part of our lives. Yes, to have epilepsy is to have a disability. But, as others with more recognised disabilities say, so what? Thank you.
My name is Rachel. I'm 32 at this point, and I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 18. So it was a bit of a shock for me, and I was not impressed with the whole situation at all whatsoever. I had just gone to college, I had just started to drink, and then all of a sudden this big impact came into my life. And when I was diagnosed, I was in the neurologist, and when she told me, I literally felt like I had been stamped on the head with a burning, like cold burning thing that just basically said epilepsy written across my face, and that everybody could see it and everyone was going to judge me because I had a disability. And I spent about 2 years of my life living like this. I put myself into a box that I wouldn't let myself get out of because I decided I had a disability. So I decided to turn that around because life wasn't working out for me. I was having loads of seizures. I was feeling horrible within myself. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go anywhere because I had a disability. So I should take a step back and live in this disability box because that's what I do. I have epilepsy now. So I decided to completely turn it on its head. And I took a step forward. I stepped outside the box that was term disability, and I realized that if anything, it's given me the ability to actually fight for more in life, to be determined, to show people that I can actually do what I want to do. Now, the term disability is a mental or physical condition that limits a person's movements, senses, or activities, okay? So does alcohol. I've seen people who drink and they have been absolutely mentally or physically impaired. So does that mean that they have a disability? I don't think so. Similar words to the term disability is condition. Do I feel like I have a condition? I have epilepsy. Do I feel ill? Not right now, but I have epilepsy. It doesn't mean that I have a disability. For me, when I was first asked about coming to talk here, my first thought was, what do I think when I think of disability? And in my head, the first image I seen was one of somebody in a wheelchair. And that's the international term or image for disability. So for me, I kind of felt, well, I don't have a physical disability, so am I disabled or do I have a disability? And it was a really conflicting term for me because I wasn't sure what I felt. I wasn't sure if I should be in this little box termed disability. I have a long-term illness. I think that's different. I think I have an illness that isn't going to go away. I have seen people with man flu that have been in far worse states than I have after a seizure. And that's not a lie. Honest to God, they really do push it as far as they can. in my opinion, and I've said it before, it doesn't make a difference what name you put on yourself. It's about what way you're going to live in life. It's about how far you're going to push yourself. Since I've decided to turn everything upside down and not look at myself as having a disability, but look at myself as having an ability to show I can do whatever I want to do. Now, I can't drive. Well, I can drive. I'm not allowed to drive, and I'm not allowed from an insurance point of view, which terms me having a disability, and that's why I'm not allowed to drive. That's the only one thing. Again, alcohol also does that. It stops people being allowed to drive. So for me, it's a balance. You have to be able to live within the life that you want to give yourself. So far, since I've been involved with Epilepsy Ireland, I've got to do amazing things. Like, I went on TV, I got to go and see Rick Wynne, Celebrity Mastermind. I got to talk at loads of different conferences and set up the Epilepsy Ireland group, and it's been an amazing experience. Do I come across as somebody that has a disability or that term? I understand what you were talking about when you were explaining about what it's like to have a tonic-clonic. I had one about a week ago, and to me, I don't think about it like that. I think about it as me having a seizure, to which I sleep, I get up, and I get on with life. It's not a big deal anymore. It's just something that happens in my life. If I was to sit down again and take that step back and put myself into that little box of having a disability, well, then I think I'd be in a very different place than where I am today. I don't think I'd be able to have the confidence to get up and speak, even though I am nervous. I don't think I would have had the ability to go on morning AM. I think I would have just lived such a small bit of life that I've got to live in the past 10 years because I had the ability to do it. So I guess my final thing is that it's really up to you what you do. It's up to you and how you live with life. It's up to you how you bring it from yourself to stand outside the box and to say, I can do this, and I'm going to support myself, and I'm going to believe in myself. And if you do that, you're going to get to where you want to be, regardless if you have a disability or epilepsy or asthma. It doesn't matter. That's me.